Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith TB. It's time for News Central now, and here are the top stories at this hour. As fuel scarcity looms, Remand seeks government action on supply, threatens to halt distribution. President Tinubu pays tribute to late Namibian leader Sam Nujoma at state burial. In a significant development, M23 rebels hand over 20 fighters to Rwandan army. And let's begin with the energy sector. Nigerians may soon face severe fuel scarcity as long queues return to filling stations across major cities. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the government demanding urgent action on fuel supply issues or risk a nationwide shutdown of distribution. News Central's Bettina Unwedi reports.
Fuel shortages are hitting Lagos and other parts of Nigeria, with tanker drivers halting fuel loading over alleged harassment by government officials. In a strongly worded statement, Remand blamed the crisis on supply disruptions, rising transportation costs, and alleged hoarding by private depot owners.
If you have issues as regards the truck operation, we believe should be informed and necessary time should be given to us. If there is any vehicle that's idle or whatever, necessary hours should be given for it to clear. You see, because we operate under strenuous environment, meaning that sometimes you come and you be keen, or you can have puncture, you can have, because of the heat, overheating. Naturally, every transport operation has its own issues.
While the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has downplayed the crisis, citing logistical issues and panic buying, Remand warns that without swift government intervention, a nationwide shutdown is imminent.
Hopefully, by next week, we'll also come back here to be able to, inform the public whether this money has been paid or whether and total amount of money that was supposed to be paid. But marketers vehemently, I want to repeat myself, that marketers vehemently has complained that this money is long overdue.
Many Nigerians remain skeptical as fuel shortages have become a recurring challenge despite the country's status as a major oil producer. Analysts caution that if the situation is not resolved swiftly, it could drive up inflation and cripple businesses already struggling in a tough economic climate. With Remand's deadline fast approaching, all eyes are on the government and oil marketers to prevent a full-blown crisis. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Bettina Unwili.
Away from that, a magistrate court in Lokoja, Kogi State has granted the demand of the prosecution in the cyber stalking and criminal defamation case against the chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Austin Okai, to enable the Department of State Services, DSS, to conclude their investigations into the allegations. The decision of the DSS to seek for the remand in prison custody was to ensure compliance with the law by not keeping the accused beyond 48 hours in custody without the lawful permission of the court, in line with the criminal justice system of Nigeria. Okai is facing trial for his allegation on the social media that the Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo allegedly stole billions of naira meant for the local government councils in the state, as well as some agencies under the state government. And now to react to this, we're joined by Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fanwo. Mr. Fanwo, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us. I mean, let's just get started. Can you elaborate on the legal grounds on which Austin Okai was accused of making defamatory statements against the governor?
Thank you very much. To answer that directly, we are challenging him on 2 grounds. The first one is cyber stalking. That is the use of internet to cause reputational harm to the other person. And that is contained in the Cybercrime Act of 2015, Section 24. And the other thing we are challenging him for is the issue of criminal defamation, which is in section 233 to 235 of the Criminal Code Act. So these are the grounds that we are challenging. If you just make allegations that the governor diverted over 16 billion naira, then you should have proofs to be able to justify your allegations. Making those allegations would definitely not be enough. He has to have his date in court to prove those allegations that we all know are false.
And what do you make of this belief in several quarters that this legal action against Austin Okai has political undertone? Is there any truth to these allegations?
We should, even the fourth estate of the realm, the media should join the rest of the society to separate politics from criminality. There's a difference between politics and criminality. In politics, you aspire to be able to take power and use the power to benefit the society. But criminality is a completely different thing. If you just sit down somewhere and say someone has stolen money and you have no proofs, there are nothing to point to that, then you have to answer for those allegations. He who alleges must always be ready to prove. So this has nothing to do with politics. It is about the integrity of the governor, the integrity of the Kogi state government, and ensuring that we are able to prove to the international community and our international partners that all the resources they've been giving to the state have been judiciously deployed to ensure that we are able to fund our development plans. These are some of the things that are happening in the state. So it has nothing to do with politics. This is criminality, point blank.
I mean, at this point, one has to ask about, freedom of speech. How does the Kogi state government balance freedom of speech and the legal framework when addressing accusations against public officials, especially in politically charged cases such as this?
Yeah, when you talk about the freedom of speech, I think about the fundamental rights of the citizens to be able to express their views. And we welcome this, and the governor has always said at every forum that he wants people to criticize his administration. He wants people to tell him how to improve on what he's doing. That is constructive criticism. This is different. This is a criminal allegation. This is criminal defamation. This is cyber stalking. So it has nothing to do with freedom. When you talk about the rights of people, you are talking about the fact that where the rights of Mr. A stops is where the rights of Mr. B starts. So you don't infringe on the rights of the other person in the name of freedom of speech. And, we have been talking and making agitations about regulating the social media, as a nation. But I don't even feel we need to dissipate so much energy on that. Our laws have taken care of that, and that is what we want to use this to set a standard, to set a template, and to test the laws as to how they can defend people against cyber stalking and criminal defamation. This is very much important to us.
As you're talking about, the public trust, I have to ask you at this point, in terms of steps, with the Kogi state government, the steps that they are taking to rebuild or preserve public trust in the wake of accusations of financial mismanagement and corruption.
Yeah, we are going to talk about preserving such trust, preserving our reputation. And what we have done constantly is to put whatever we are doing in the public domain. If you go to the website of the state government, you will see that everything the state government is doing is on that website. That is our contact to the world. That's our window to the world. And also we publish our statements of account. We also publish what we use those funds to do as regards projects, programs, and policies implementation. So these are some of the things that we are doing. And if you are talking about retaining or preserving public trust, the Kogi state people today have so much trust in their governor because they could see what is using the resources of the state to do. So that is public. The issue of trust is not an issue when it comes to the relationship between the people of Kogi state and the chief servant of Kogi state, His Excellency Alhaji Ahmed Usman.
Finally, just to wrap it up, for the successor of the past governor, who is now having a case with EFCC, and to see such damning allegations for this current governor, the incumbent, and that is none other than himself, His Excellency Governor Usman Ododo. What does this mean for Kogi State as general, away from the indigents and residents of the Kogi people, but more or less at a national level? What does this mean for Kogi and its administration?
It is a very great opportunity to use the law to set the record straight. And that is what we have decided to do. We are not going to take laws into our hands, but we are going to pursue this case relentlessly until justice is done to it. By the time justice is done, the entire nation and the international community would see that these allegations are spurious and they are allegations that were put out to damage the integrity and reputation of the government officials.
I must say thank you so much for taking out the time to join us and give us a bit of insight on this matter. Mr. Kingsley Fanwa, he is the Commissioner for Information for Kogi State. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Staying with more with defamation matters, the ongoing feud between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has taken a new twist. This is as Onoma Akpabio, the wife of the Senate President, has filed lawsuits against Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. Onoma Akpabio filed two separate suits at the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Abuja, accusing Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan of defamation and violating her family's fundamental rights. The legal action follows Akpoti-Uduaghan's recent claims that her troubles in the Senate began after she allegedly rejected sexual advances from the Senate President. In the first suit, Onoma Akpabio alleges that the senator's statements has caused her emotional trauma and left her and her children living in fear. She is demanding that the court declare the statements a violation of her dignity under the Nigerian Constitution and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. She's also seeking 250 billion naira in damages and a perpetual injunction preventing Akpoti-Uduaghan from making further allegations. In the second suit for defamation by Onoma Akpabio, she challenges Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's claims that her husband made inappropriate advances towards her, and she describes the allegations as false, malicious, and damaging, saying they have tarnished her family's reputation. In the meantime, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has urged Onoma Akpabio, the wife of Senate President Godswill Akpabio, to stay out of the allegations of sexual harassment and intimidation against her husband. The dispute has escalated after Akpoti-Uduaghan accused Akpabio of blocking her motions and intimidating her following her refusal of his alleged advances. Mrs. Akpabio has dismissed the claims, stating that both families have maintained a cordial relationship for years. In a letter dated March 1st, 2025, Akpoti-Uduaghan has insisted that the allegations are personal to Akpabio and that he should defend himself. She has also claimed to have concrete evidence supporting her accusations. The senator has reaffirmed her commitment to defending Nigerian women while urging Mrs. Akpabio to protect her family's integrity by staying out of the matter. Still on legal matters, the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice has dismissed a case filed against the federal government of Nigeria over the 1996 assassination of Kudirat Abiola, wife of MKO Abiola, the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. The suit was brought by Khalifa Abiola, Moriam Abiola, and Hadi Abiola, who argued that the Nigerian government failed to hold Kudirat's killers accountable despite a commission of inquiry identifying a key suspect, Sergeant Barnabas Jabila. In its ruling, Justice Edward Amoka Asante stated that the applicants lacked the legal standing to sue as they failed to establish a direct legal relationship with Kudirat or present a valid mandate to act on behalf of our estate. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, President Tinubu pays tribute to late Namibian leader Sam Nujuma. at state burial. This and more after the break. Stay here. President Bola Tinubu has paid tribute to the late founding president of the Republic of Namibia, Sam Nujoma, describing him as a warrior who galvanized Nigeria and other African nations to fight for his country's freedom. Nujoma was a revered figure who led his country to gain independence, steering the nation on the path towards democracy and stability. Speaking on Saturday during a state burial for the late Namibian leader held at Heroes Ector in Windhoek, Namibia, President Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, said that Nujuma's demise is not an exit from space and time, but the wake of his immortality in the minds of Africans. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has called on Nigerians to unite in prayer and action for the nation's continued growth and development, seeking Allah's guidance and protection as Ramadan begins. He made the call in an address to Muslim faithful in the country. The president also encouraged Muslims to strengthen their bonds with Allah and one another. The president expressed hope that during the holy month, both words and actions would showcase a collective commitment to peace, unity, and progress. The Sultan of Sokoto, Saeed Abubakar III, also urged all Muslims to dedicate the holy month to prayers, seeking Allah's blessings and guidance for the nation and its leaders. Crimes against women and girls have reached alarming levels in recent times, with a rising number of reported deaths linked to gender-based violence. In Lagos, the pathology department of the State Police Command convened a symposium to examine the causes of femicide, analyze available data, and explore solutions to curb this growing threat. News Central's lead correspondent Bernard Akede has the story.
In recent months, the rising cases of gender-based violence have led to tragic deaths of women and girls across Lagos and beyond. However, solving these crimes remains a challenge due to multiple factors, including societal attitude, legal loopholes, and investigative hurdles. To better understand femicide and find ways to combat it, the Pathology Department of Lagos State Police Command has been gathering criminal data, shedding light on the patterns, causes, and challenges associated with these killings.
Femicide is an extreme form of gender-based violence inflicted on the girl child and women. It is intentional killing of the woman or a girl child on the negative assumption and stereotype about their gender and disregard for the protection of their human rights.
Some argue that provocation plays a role in gender-based violence, but legal experts insist that no circumstances justifies taking a life.
It's very, very important for people to seek therapy if they have anger management issue, for people to seek community support and other kind of assistance that can help them deal with issues that can escalate to them committing femicide.
Given the complexity of femicide cases, law enforcement officers often encounter significant obstacles in their investigations. Police officials at the symposium emphasized the need for collective efforts from all sectors of society to effectively tackle this issue.
Number one is data, inappropriate data collection. I'm very sure we're going to improve on that. So where we can have appropriate data on not only on perpetrators, like the police will usually do, but we need to have data on the victims as well. Infrastructures, we need to digitize our record keeping, and at the same time be able to analyze them appropriately and actually make recommendations. Part of the police job is actually crime prevention. So we need to make all this so that those who are concerned can give those political backing to it and make appropriate laws to be able to stop femicide in our society.
Our take-home is that the police is committed to ensuring that we respond effectively to cases of femicide in our society, but most importantly, we can't do it alone. We need the partnership, we need the collaboration of stakeholders.
A global report by UN Women and UN Office of Drug and Crime reveals that in 2023 alone, 51,000 women worldwide were killed by intimate partners or family members. Africa accounted for 21,700 of these cases, making femicide a pressing concern on the continent. With March recognized globally as Women's Month, officers of the Lagos State Police Command believe this is a crucial time to raise awareness and encourage proactive measures to combat femicide. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
And now to health matters. Health experts in Nigeria have raised concerns over the poor awareness, dangers of late diagnosis, and unavailable treatment of kidney failures among adult Nigerians. They say many affected individuals are left undiagnosed until the situation reaches an advanced stage, thus leaving the victims in complex and life-threatening situations. Our correspondent Joshua Marai reports.
Findings from the African Association of Nephrology have indicated the high prevalence of kidney failure among adult Nigerians. According to the report, obesity and diabetes were identified as the leading risk factors for the condition, contributing significantly to a growing health crisis. Despite this alarming trend, the lack of awareness and limited access to early diagnosis and treatment has left many affected individuals undiagnosed until the disease reaches an advanced stage.
The initial early stages of the disease is it doesn't present with any symptoms. So a lot of people are just walking on the street with early stages of this disease.
In a bid to raise awareness about the dangers of harmful habits that lead to kidney dysfunction in Nigeria, a group of individuals has announced a football campaign to highlight the rising prevalence of the disease, which has resulted in lower life expectancy and economic losses.
And so this awareness, we believe, using the platform of football that we know that quite a number of people would watch, would help us to pass that message out there.
It's basically an avenue for us to sensitize the general public, and we're using football as a platform to bring people together and talk about the prevalent kidney diseases, and also teach us or guide us on how to be careful in preventing such.
Health experts are calling for urgent interventions, including public awareness campaigns, lifestyle modification, and improved access to routine medical checkups. They say that early detection and preventive measures are key to reducing the growing burden of kidney disease in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Marai.
Away from that, rights activists in Nigeria say that the nation's civic space is shrinking, with journalists facing arrest and detentions and activists disappearing without a trace. At this high-level stakeholder policy dialogue in Abuja, experts review events within the nation's civic space, warning that insecurity is no longer just about violence in communities, but the attitude of government towards free speech, press freedom, and democratic accountability. Our correspondent Edom Joseph has more.
In recent years, rising insecurity has significantly impacted Nigeria's civic space, restricting citizens' abilities to express themselves and hold the government accountable. Activists argue that state-controlled narratives have further limited free speech, making it harder for citizens to express themselves.
Digital rights are also human rights. It is not only when people are harassed, attacked, or sent out by guns that their rights have been, impacted. Some of the things you will remember is what happens during election. One of our, as a matter of fact, I would say the leading light of investigative journalism in Nigeria, Premium Time, is currently facing a digital attack.
The government will always talk about national security, which is important, because the Constitution made it very explicit that the primary responsibility of any government is to protect lives and what? Properties. If the same life and property that the government is supposed to protect, they are using that as a tool, or possibly as maybe like the reason why they are going to be repressing the same people that they are protecting the life and properties. So there's a need for a balance.
While national security remains a priority, activists warn that democracy without free civic engagement is at risk of collapse. They called for human-centered security policies, ensuring that protecting lives does not come at the cost of silencing voices.
I'm wondering if we still have a future for our children. I'm going to just encourage us all to seize the opportunity, not just to analyze challenges, but to formulate actionable solutions that reinforce our democratic foundations.
I would say that it requires the convening of multi-stakeholders, diverse stakeholders from different sectors to actually not just have a conversation around the issues, but to explore different strategies through which these issues can be addressed.
Meanwhile, they stress that the situation is even worse at grassroots, where many communities lack platforms to voice their concerns. They urge policymakers to ensure security measures do not stifle civic participation, allowing all citizens a voice in governance. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
CNG experts have canvassed the creation of more CNG refuel stations to ensure cleaner and sustainable environment. This comes as stakeholders gather at Ojota area of Lagos State with one message: conversion of vehicles from petroleum to compressed natural gas has come to stay. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
The conversion of PMS vehicles to CNG has been a welcome development since the removal of fuel subsidy, providing Nigerians with cheaper and cleaner fueling alternatives. Although the conversion of PMS to CNG may have been widely accepted by many, but the gap in the CNG process has posed a serious challenge to the sector, hence the creation of CNG refuel stations across the country.
The way they have started is with the subsidy of the kits. Now, with the subsidy of the kits, what this has allowed to happen is accessibility to the kits. So once you have been converted now, I think the second phase will be the refueling part of it. Now, they have programs such as the Midstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, which the government also has been trying its best by shaping good policies. There are waivers, tax incentives on CNG right now. So the government at this stage right now is doing its best to make sure that people can adopt the usage of CNG.
We believe this is a very symbolic, it's a very significant development in terms of reducing how much Lagosians pay for transport. It would help encourage other investors to see that this is real, and they should also join the bandwagon of investing in this conversion into CNG.
Yeah, I think for us, this is a realization of years-long dream of making sure we bring the appropriate infrastructure to our transporters and our commuters. For us, ultimately, it is about enabling gas to get to the last mile. Like I already mentioned, for the past 1 year, we've been trying to work with the regulators to make sure that we can make this kind of modular refueling units a reality. We also have been working very closely with the private sector to ensure we enable their investment into the sector.
However, experts believe having access to CNG to ensure a cleaner, safer and reliable fuel, particularly for the country's transport system, cannot be overlooked. While the Nigerian government encouraged most Nigerians to convert their vehicles to CNG, especially the commercial transport system, the queue at some of the fuel refill stations available have been discouraging to many.
Our partners in the PICNG issue because combustion and now eventual operations and commencement. As we speak, NATO is operating about 25 buses from the CNG Initiative Office of the Presidency, running buses across the country. We operated during the Christmas and Yuletide period free services in Abuja, and we did part of the 50% rebate for the Yuletide period, all CNG buses.
If you look at the value chain, a lot of investment opportunity you can see along the value chain, CNG value chain. You can have the mother station, the daughter station for gas. And again, you can convert. You can have a conversion center. You can produce the kits.
For a country with a thriving commercial transport system, The importance of having adequate CNG refuel stations cannot be overemphasized, hence the need for collaborations between the private and public sectors. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Many thanks to Omolola Ololade there for that report. And now to the southeast to encourage skilled persons living with disabilities economically in Abia State. The wife of the governor, Priscilla Oti, has donated solar energy kits to select members or persons living with disability. The beneficiaries on their part say the kits will spur them to become more productive. News Center's Chinwe Ugeli has more.
Most of them are into small and medium enterprises and require a little support to be economically stable.
I strongly believe that in a world where innovation drives progress, it is essential that our society is inclusive, ensuring that everyone, regardless of their physical abilities, has equal access to the resources and opportunities that foster entrepreneurial success.
The beneficiaries are carefully selected from different parts of the state, bearing in mind those whose businesses will thrive more with improved power supply.
Access to solar power energy also ensures that businesses are able to optimize their businesses, especially at a time such as this, when cost of doing business is very high.
Wife of Abia State Governor Priscilla Oti says her office, in collaboration with the Office of the Wife of the President, are uplifting the lives of the physically challenged.
We gather to brighten the lives of this special group of individuals. And we are indeed here to promote the economic advancement of persons living with challenges.
Special Assistant to Governor Alex Oti on industry, small and medium enterprises wants the persons living with disabilities to leverage the opportunities available.
Collecting the solar panel, solar energy is not all enough. Most don't have any business doing. So what the governor is doing is trying to make sure that every one of us have something to do.
The wife of the governor discloses intentions to reach out to more persons who need the facility.
Of course, we decided to start with these most vulnerable groups, people living with disability. Yes.
Some of the beneficiaries share how they feel the kits will boost their output.
I'll be using it to charge my phone and charging other people's phones and collecting money. I'll be making money, little bit. So other things, and I'll put the lights inside my shop. I'll be using it to see when there is no lights.
But I do use filing machine for my work. Sometimes I will disappoint some of my customers because of lack of lights.
This kind of gesture, aside the economic empowerment, aims to address power shortage and enhance access to clean and reliable energy in Abia State. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
You're watching news now on News Central Television. Coming up, survivors of M23 rally attack recount horror after twin blasts shook eastern DR Congo. We have the details just after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. The M23 rebel group has handed over 20 fighters from the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, including a general and senior officers to the Rwandan army at the DR Congo-Rwanda border in North Kivu. The FDLR, founded by former Rwandan Hutu leaders involved in the 1994 Tutsi genocide, has been active in eastern DR Congo for decades. Rwanda has justified its military's presence in the region by citing the FDLR's activities as a security threat. The M23, which has launched offensives in North Kivu, has continued to engage in clashes with Congolese forces. The handover marks a significant development in the ongoing conflict as regional tensions remain high over the presence of armed groups in eastern DR Congo.
Les 20 militaires FDLR
donc commandé par un général. Et la suite, c'est qu'il y a d'autres, nous continuons à traquer les autres, ils se cachent dans la ville de Goma. Nous demandons à la population de Goma de participer à leur propre sécurité. Nous recevons chaque soir des appels d'alerte, d'insécurité, des coups de feu, de tout ça. Dans les quartiers Mugunga, là-bas, rond-point CAV, je ne sais pas si je me rappelle bien. Donc il y a chaque fois des coups de feu. Ce sont les FDLR qui viennent encore insécuriser la population congolaise. Les habitants doivent participer, dénoncer ces gens.
Kuna watu wenye wanahusika na hiyo. Tunapatia justice itafuatilia mambo yake, ama kuna wenye wako na walifanya mazambi ya genocide hapa, au wataenda kwa justice waulizwe, ama kuna wenye wanastakiwa mashtaka yingine nao watakuja kuulizwa. Wale wenye hawana shida yoyote tutawapeleka sehemu inaitwa Mutobo kwa rehabilitation center.
In the meantime, at least 11 people were killed and around 60 injured after 2 explosions rocked a rally held by the M23 armed group in Bukavu, eastern DR Congo. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos and devastation. The first blast triggered panic, sending people fleeing before a second explosion went off. President Felix Tshisekedi has condemned the attack, calling it a heinous terrorist act. The explosions occurred after thousands had gathered for a rally attended by Cornelia Nanga, who's the leader of a coalition that includes M23.
Kuna sashe ya noiri inatoka muhewa, inatosha umoshi ikaanguka katikati ya batu. Après ma 2 seconde ikaripuka. Mukuripuka beliripukia ko pale chini abakulamuka. Benye walibona kisha kujisove bakakimbia bakatupa ingine ya pili.
Kwa sasa sijisikie bien. Sijisikia hata bien. Niko sikia tu mguru inatafunia ndani wake anzio mgongo kushuka kule chini. Abiko bien niko sikia vertige. Nganga walisema dosage yangu ilishuka sana. Ilifika -5. Kasema sasa nilipoteza damu ya mingi. Juu walikuwa mbele yangu wote walikufa. Niliregrete kuona nilikuwa ogopa kwanza mgulu itakatika. Mungu anasaidia mgulu inatoka ya mzima. Nilikuwa ogopa sana jinsi mgulu inaweza nikatika. Ndio ndiweza kuwa na regret kuona ya vipi ilinifikia.
South Sudanese authorities are set to replace an army contingent in Upper Nile following deadly clashes in 2 regions that have killed civilians, injured a UN peacekeeper, and displaced thousands. Fighting erupted earlier this month, resulting in civilian casualties and wounding a peacekeeper. Human Rights Watch has warned of an alarming surge of violence in the region. A 24-page report by the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, based on independent UN investigations, meetings with local officials, open source material, and forensic analysis, reveals how political and military elites continue to fuel violence and instability.
In Upper Nile, and specifically in Nasir area. Taban Jejbita Nasir there, they have stayed for long. And there had been a demand from the people of Nasir that these people should be replaced. And all this time, there had been skirmishes between them and the White Army, even though I don't believe that it is the White Army, but it is the White Army, as it is said. There had been skirmishes all this time. So the government decided to send a force to go and take over from these people, and these people in Jibum. The White Army came. This White Army cannot be termed as a friendly force.
Uganda's health ministry reports that a young child has died of the Ebola virus in Uganda a second victim of an outbreak that was announced in late January. On Tuesday, the East African country confirmed it had recorded 10 cases of the Sudan Ebola strain of the often deadly virus, including that of a nurse at Mulango National Referral Hospital who had died. On Saturday, it announced an additional positive case had been detected at Mulango. The deceased, a child of 4.5, was a resident of Kibuli, linked to the Pamri cluster. Russians in Moscow have welcomed Donald Trump's public rebuke of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, expressing hope that it signals a shift in U.S. policy that could help end the Ukraine conflict. Trump has openly criticized Zelensky, accusing him of lacking gratitude for U.S. military aid and being unwilling to pursue peace. During the White House meeting, he had stated that Ukraine holds no winning cards and warned against escalating the war. Moscow residents have expressed satisfaction with Trump's stance. Nursery worker, who is also one of the Ukrainian citizens, is called the exchange pleasing, while waiter, another, also has described Zelensky's conduct as unprecedented. Many have echoed the belief that Ukraine's only viable option is to negotiate a ceasefire.
Этого следовало ожидать, и, честно говоря, было очень приятно, что ему дали такой отпор в Белом доме. И вообще было приятно, что наконец-то хоть как-то стала поворачиваться ситуация в нужную сторону.
Такого, как по мне, стыдного выступления главы государства очень давно не было. Потому что это было очень странно и очень не комплиментарно для Зеленского, как для президента.
Вы имеете в виду выступление?
Я считаю, что очень верную вещь сам Трамп сказал о том, что выигрышных карт на руках у Украины нет. Как в целом и особо не было. Вот. И поэтому, кроме как подписать, допустим, мирное соглашение и подписать договор о прекращении огня, в целом у них особо вариантов нет, особенно если они лишатся еще и помощи Америки.
А вообще то, что важный вопрос. Ну, я думаю, в любом случае, что на руку, потому что Зеленский нам не друг. Вот. Нехорошо, конечно, что ситуация такая произошла, но в целом мы все рады, что все идет к логическому завершению. Будем надеяться на это.
Atlanta missed a chance to pull level with league leaders Inter Milan after a goalless draw against struggling Venezia. This marks Atlanta's fifth straight home match without a win in the Italian top flight. They remain in third place, 2 points behind champions Inter, who face title challengers Napoli later tonight. Despite several close calls, including Zappacosta hitting the post and Lookman missing 2 clear opportunities, Atlanta couldn't break through the club Venezia's stubborn defense. The unexpected draw gives Venezia a vital point in their relegation battle, though they remain 5 points from safety. Atlanta's home form continues to hamper their unexpected title challenge, with no domestic victories at their stadium since the start of 2025. Crystal Palace advanced to the FA Cup quarterfinals with a 3-1 victory over Millwall, but the win was overshadowed by a serious injury to striker Jean-Philippe Mateta. Early in the match, Millwall goalkeeper Liam Roberts received a red card for a dangerous challenge that left Mateta concussed and requiring oxygen before being hospitalized. Palace chairperson, that's Stephen Parish, called it the most reckless challenge ever seen. Despite being down to 10 men, Millwall fought back after Palace took a 2-0 lead through Taganga on goal and Muniz strike. Hadding is also pulled one back before halftime, but substitute Encantia sealed the win with a late header. Mateta, who has 15 goals this season is currently being assessed at hospital with a head injury and a gash behind his ear. In other FA Cup action, Preston North End upset Burnley 3-0. Jose Mourinho's 4-match suspension has been halved by the Turkish Football Federation TFF following a successful appeal by Fenerbahce. His fine was also reduced from 1.6 million Turkish lira, that's about 35,000 pounds, to 558,000, and that's about 12,200 pounds. The Portuguese manager was penalized for making derogatory and offensive statements about Turkish referees after Fenerbahce's 0-0 draw with Galatasaray. Mourinho will miss Sunday's match against Antalyaspor, but will return for the club's clash against Samsunspor on March 16th. Additionally, Mourinho has filed a lawsuit against the club for defamation after the club accused him of making racist remarks. The club currently seats second in the Turkish Super League, 6 points behind Galatasaray. And that's all we can take at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. As fuel scarcity looms, Ipman is seeking government action on supply and threatens to halt distribution. President Tinubu has paid tribute to late Namibian leader Sam Nujuma at a state burial. And we also told you that in a significant development, M23 rebels have handed over 20 fighters to Rwandan army. As always, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, on Star Times channel 274. We're also on Apple TV and stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith Atimi. Bye for now.